In this video series, I want to take you through a journey exploring the role of alcohol in today's Indian society. Together, we'll take a close look at some aspects of alcohol use that often go unnoticed or are simply taken for granted. We'll dive into why, as individuals and as a society, we might want to reconsider normalizing alcohol use. Alcohol has become incredibly common in India in recent years, but it wasn't always this way. If we go back a few decades, before the year 2000, alcohol was not as widely seen or openly accepted, at least not in the environment I grew up in. Life was different then, and societal norms around alcohol use reflected that. To give you some context, let's rewind to the early 1990s. I was in middle school in Pune, a city known for its close-knit communities and traditional values. I grew up in a middle-class, working family neighborhood, and our housing society was home to about 20 families. These weren't just neighbors, they felt like our extended family. Our relationships were built on frequent interactions and shared moments, making the society a lively, welcoming place to grow up. Each family had at least one or two children around my age, and we would constantly visit each other's homes. This wasn't just for birthdays or holidays but almost every day. We'd share meals, play together, and often find ourselves spending the whole day at a friend's place without even realizing the time. On weekends and during holidays, sleepovers were the norm, with kids and parents alike enjoying the community vibe. It was a time filled with friendship and family, where we truly knew each other well. And this sense of community wasn't limited to just one housing society. Throughout my school years, we lived in 3 different societies, each with its unique setup but all sharing the same close community spirit. One of these societies was particularly large, with around 200 homes, so the network of connections and friendships was even bigger. Now, here's the interesting part. I don't recall seeing anyone from any of these families drinking alcohol openly. I'm not saying no one drank at all, but if they did, it was definitely not in front of their families or children. When we'd go over to family friends' homes for lunch or dinner, or when they'd come to ours, alcohol was never a topic of discussion, let alone something anyone brought out at the table. It was simply not part of our social gatherings, and as kids, we didn't even think about it. The same held true for both my paternal and maternal families. Alcohol didn't make an appearance at our common family lunches, dinners, or holiday visits. It's possible that some adults might have had a drink occasionally, but no one did so openly in front of children. There seemed to be an unspoken understanding that drinking in front of family wasn't the right thing to do, especially with kids around. I do have one faint memory of overhearing a conversation about a few men drinking alcohol. It was such a rare event that it actually became a topic of gossip among the women in our housing society. They found it surprising and were quite vocal about how it wasn't proper behavior, expressing disapproval rather than admiration. Alcohol consumption was not seen as something respectable or acceptable. So, while some people might have been drinking back then, it was certainly not an accepted social habit. The majority of people felt it wasn't a good practice and, above all, didn't want to promote it, especially around children and family. They seemed to understand that normalizing alcohol use in front of young ones might send the wrong message, and so they avoided doing it. Even in popular culture, like Bollywood movies, drinking wasn't typically showcased as a part of the main characters' lifestyles. Heroes and heroines didn't usually drink, and when they did, it was often associated with villains or morally ambiguous characters. This cultural backdrop reinforced the idea that alcohol was not something to admire or emulate. And even the physical availability of alcohol was restricted. Alcohol shops were few and far between, usually only 1 or 2 in a large area, and they were kept at a distance from schools and colleges. This limited visibility played a role in shaping attitudes, as alcohol was not easily accessible or constantly in view. Of course, the acceptance or normalization of alcohol may have varied across different parts of India. In some places, it might have been more common, in others, even less so. I can only speak from my own experience. I'd love to hear about your memories and experiences. If you grew up in India before the year 2000, how was alcohol perceived in your family or community? Was it something common in social gatherings, or was it rare, like in my experience? Please share your thoughts and stories in the comments below.